When it comes to bodyweight training, a lot of people get confused on how to make exercises like push-ups, pull-ups, and squats harder. Well, in this video, I'm going to explain exactly how you can use progressive overload and make these exercises harder or easier depending on what level you're at. So the key to actually making an exercise harder or easier is to manipulate the leverage of the exercise itself. And so we're going to bring things down on the floor. I'm explaining how to make the push-up harder. So there's a couple of ways you can make push-ups harder. One of the easiest ways to manipulate leverage on the push-up, obviously to make it harder, is go from push-ups to one-arm push-ups. Now there's obviously something in between push-ups and one-arm push-ups, and that's going to be archer push-ups. So if we're on the floor right here and I'm going to hit some push-ups, super easy for me. To make this harder, you can actually switch from push-ups to archer push-ups. So this is going to be a progression to work towards one-arm push-ups. Going from push-ups to archer push-ups is a form of progressive overload, and over time, if you use this exercise, you can actually use this as a form of progressive overload to build more muscle. Now, another exercise not a lot of people know about, but I'm sure if you've been subscribed to me and been watching my videos for a while, you hear me talk about this exercise all the time, but it's going to be pseudo planche push-ups. Now, what are pseudo planche push-ups? You're taking your regular push-ups, but moving your hands down towards your hips, which is gonna move your weight more towards the center of gravity, so you're making you push more of a percentage of your body weight. Basically, you wanna actually focus on leaning forward a little bit. That way you can keep your balance. Pseudo planche push-ups, a lot more difficult than regular push-ups. Now, maybe you're overweight or you can't even get a single push-up or pull-up. You may be asking yourself, what am I supposed to do in this situation? Well, you basically work backwards. So you decrease the difficulty of the exercise by manipulating the leverage again. So one way you can manipulate the leverage to make an exercise easier is incline push-ups, right? So I can do push-ups on my bed here. Makes it a lot easier than normal push-ups. And after a while of doing that, you can go lower and lower and lower until you're finally on the ground doing normal push-ups. Now we're gonna start moving a little bit quicker because I'm sure you get the point with progressive overload with pull-ups to go into one-arm pull-ups and archer pull-ups and such like that. But obviously, if you go from pull-ups to archer pull-ups, it's going to be a way of progressive overload. Now, a lot of people, they actually can't get a lot of pull-ups, so a way that you can make pull-ups easier is actually purchasing something called resistance bands. I'll show you exactly how to set this up to make an exercise easy. So it's very simple. All you want to do is take this resistance band, hook it around this bar here, pull it through in between the band, right like this. The next step is you want to take this band, hook your foot around it, and you're all set up. Now just make sure, be careful that this doesn't snap in between your legs. Then boom, with this, it makes it a lot easier to do pull-ups. And last but not least, we're going to talk about legs. Now the most obvious answer is going from squats to pistol squats, which is basically going from regular body weight squats to one-legged squats. But there's other exercises such as Bulgarian split squats and lunge squats that you can do that can make the exercise more intense. Legs, it's one of the areas where I struggle to understand like how to make the exercise harder. Your legs can actually take a lot more abuse than the rest of your body because it's like one of the most strongest muscles on your body. So in my personal opinion, it'd be a lot easier to train your legs with weights. So if you actually have weights around, I highly suggest you use weights for your legs because it's just so dang hard to increase the resistance enough to actually feel your legs working. But if you don't have any weight and you only have body weight to work with, some things I suggest to do is go on sprints. Do explosive work again and do your one-legged squats. You can also do wall sits. Also, Bulgarian split squats, high rep Bulgarian split squats is going to be something that you can use to hypertrophy your quads a lot. Aside from exercise variations and changing up the leverage to make it easier or harder for you, I think it's also really important to remember that you should use bodybuilding principles when it comes to bodyweight training. If you want to actually build muscle, you need to be training like in a bodybuilding style type of way, you know what I mean? For instance, you want to take your sets close to failure. So your hard working sets, you want to have at least, I would say, 4 hard-working sets per exercise to failure. I do hit true muscular failure at some point in my exercises, in my workouts, but it's not every single exercise. But you still want to be training close to failure to see optimal muscle gain results. It doesn't really matter if you're using weights or your body weight, or if you're using low reps or high reps, you're gonna get the similar results that you're looking for, because the thing that really matters is if you take your muscles to failure or too close to failure. On top of that, I want to mention also keeping a workout journal. Now this is my second workout journal, and I have a ton of workouts in it already. There's probably like 3 workouts per page. Keep track of your workouts, that way you can track progressive overload. So, because like if you don't know what you were doing last week, how are you supposed to make the exercises harder this week, you know what I mean? You gotta like track everything you're doing. That way you know how to progress this week and make the exercises harder and build more muscle. If you look at my journal right here, you see the stuff that I broke down, and I write down when I go to failure sometimes. I'm starting to do that more often. I also want to mention there's more than one way to progressive overload. You don't just have to change up the variation. The reason why I'm making a video on changing variations to make the exercises harder for bodyweight exercises is because that is the most effective way to progressive overload, is by increasing the weight, right? So you're increasing the amount of body weight you're pushing, you're gonna make more results that way because it's just easier to increase weight, right? So one thing I do recommend is doing weighted calisthenics. If you don't know, I actually do weighted calisthenics, and it's highly effective because it's the easiest way to progress, right? So you take your push-ups and you change them into weighted push-ups. Boom, super easy, right? It's already more intense. I can already hit failure faster, right? So just keep that in mind, that adding more weight is always going to be more effective, is always going to be easier to progressive overload, but it's not the only way to progressive overload. You can increase the reps in sets. You can also decrease the rest time in between sets with slow and controlled reps. So if say you have an exercise that's super intense already and you slow that down on the eccentric especially, that's a way progressive overload as well, because you're going to be stretching and tearing that muscle down even more. Or you can do fast explosive reps, which is going to like force you to push more weight because you're exploding off the ground, right? So you're just pushing more weight. Explosive reps, my advice would be to add the explosive reps towards the end of your workout. So like towards the end of your workout, you want to do like a burnout set. If you found this video helpful, very short video explaining how to use progressive overload when it comes to calisthenics.